It's 11 o'clock at night, and I am not sleepy. I ate, and I should not have ate. My stomach is killing me. So I thought I'd come out here on the front porch and tell you trekking story number 3. And this happened when I had my purple Kenworth. And that truck, man, if you could ever actually love an inanimate object, I loved that truck. I took care of that truck myself. I replaced parts. Everything that I could possibly do that didn't require a computer, I did myself. I knew every nut and bolt on that truck, every hose, every wire, every brake chamber, every airbag. And I kept that truck in brand new shape from start when I first bought it brand new to when I sold it with 1,260,000 miles on it. So I'm in New Mexico, headed west to LA on Interstate 10, and I get pulled into the westbound New Mexico scale. And let me tell you about the scam they have going. And this isn't just New Mexico. There's lots of road mechanics. That's what they specialize in, doing road, coming to you if you break down on the road. And they've got all their tools and most common parts. And this scale let these outside mechanics park in their parking lot. And the deal is, and it's no secret, and this is why they're so adamant that you use these mechanics, because number one, the mechanics get to charge you 2 to 3 times what an hourly rate would be for a mechanic under any other circumstance. And number two, they absolutely, without a doubt, got a cut. If they weren't forcing you to use these mechanics, they always had a card in their pocket that they would refer you to a mechanic, and you were supposed to mention that Officer so-and-so gave you that. He said, tell him Officer whatever sent you, and they'll give you a discount. Yeah, right. So that's the deal with mechanics being on site conveniently when they do their DOT inspections. They pull me around back. And I knew I had no fear. Number one, I was with Forward Air, and they had top of the line trailers, and they never let their tires get bad, and the lights always worked, no air leaks. Everything was always tip-top on them trailers, because all we did was haul from terminal to terminal, and every terminal had a shop. So before you could even go open your doors and bump a dock, you had to go through the shop, and they would check your lights and check your tire pressure and look for leaks and all that stuff. So the trailer was top notch, and there's no doubt in my mind that my truck would pass, because I know every square inch of my truck. So he checks the trailer, nothing going on back there. He crawls up underneath my truck, and he stays and stays and stays long after he has me do the hit your brakes and turn your lights on, turn them off, hit your brakes, put your left foot in. And he comes out and he says, well, you have a leak. I'm going to have to write you up for the leak. And I said, well, you didn't even check my air pressure. And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, FMCSR 570.57, paragraph 6. In order to find me in violation, you have to find out if I'm losing more than 3 PSI in a minute. That's standard. I mean, I'm allowed to have air leaks as long as I'm not losing more than 3 PSI in 1 minute. And that's with my truck aired completely up, all the brakes released, and my truck off. That's standard procedure. And he looks at me, his jaw drops, and he goes, look, there's mechanics here, and I hear a leak, and I'm not going to let you leave here with a leak. And he said, I'm just writing you a warning ticket. Oh, okay. Well, it's not the brake canister, which he told me it was a brake canister. I said, I know what it is. I know I have a leak, and I know I'm not losing enough air to fall in the criteria that you would have to even give me a warning, but I'll take a warning and I'll replace the purge valve on my air dryer, which is what it was. I knew what it was, and I knew I had a leak, and I had bought the purge valve with the intention of putting it on when I got to LA, because I was in no danger of failing an inspection with the minor amount that it was leaking. So he said, well, are you authorized to work on your truck? I said, am I authorized to turn a bolt? Basically, it's a thread in and a thread out. I said, yeah, I'm authorized. I own the truck. I work in my own truck. He goes, are you certified? I said, yep, I'm certified. I don't know who I was supposed to be certified by, but I didn't even care. So he was definitely trying to force me to use these mechanics that are hanging around there. And they're hanging around like buzzards, trying to, you know, be the first one on the next truck. And tow trucks do the same thing, but that's another story. I do have a tow truck story too. And so anyway, this is the kind of crooked cops I had to deal with all through my entire trucking career. He knew he wasn't following the law. He knew that my air leak wasn't enough. This is why he didn't. Now, standard procedure, DOT inspection. You open your door, they get up, stand on your side box, you know, stand on your steps, and you air your truck, air your air tanks all the way up to 125 PSI. You release your brakes, and you sit there. You shut your engine off because you can't, you know, recharge your tanks. And they make sure you're not losing more than 3 PSI in a minute. Standard procedure. Well, I don't guess he knew. See, this is the thing. I learned that book from front to back because those dirty, thieving, lying SOBs would just quote a stupid number out of the book and say, well, according to FMCSR, blah, 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 you know, you need to have this. And I would say, no. No, I do not. I know that rule. I can point to it in the book, and yeah, you're not going to get me on that. You can write me some other bogus ticket. And anyway, he was shocked when I knew the rule and the law and the amount of PSI you could use. And yeah, I got out of there. The only thing that he got was forcing me to get down on that nasty New Mexico 130 degree concrete and change that purge valve out. And I'll tell you a quick one about another cop who thought I didn't know the rules. Pulled me over in a DOT inspection, and he wants to see my fire extinguisher. Well, my fire extinguisher was in my side box, which you had to open from the outside. But when I bought the truck, and most trucks, it was on the inside, screwed down horizontally beside the driver's seat. So I had it in my side box because it rattled. And, you know, when you're trying to sleep and your wife is driving, the rattles drive you nuts. So you eliminate as many as possible. So I put it in my side box, bolted it down, and he says, well, I can't access it. I said, there's no law that says you have to access it. I mean, if it's inside my locked truck, you couldn't access it anyway. So he looks at me, and he knows that this is not going to be an easy ticket for him. He's going to have to do something nefarious. I'll go ahead and tell you the full story. So he walks around my truck. I've already beat him on the fire extinguisher. There's no law that says I have to make my fire extinguisher accessible to short people who can't reach up in my side box. I said, it's accessible to me. I'm a foot taller than you. You know, there is no regulation that says I have to make it accessible to anybody, or else they wouldn't let me lock it up inside my truck. So he walks around my truck, and he walks around, and he goes and talks to his boss, right? And they're looking at me, and they're talking, and I know I'm fixing to get screwed. So he walks around a little bit more, and he goes back and talks to his boss a little, and they're still looking at me. Then he goes to the back of my truck, and then he comes back, and he tells me, I'm going to have to write you a fine for a clearance light. No, it was a license plate light that was out, which is bullshit. That's one of the things you check out, because these lights, they're the simplest thing they write you a ticket up for, is lights. Because some of them are hard to get to, and you need a ladder to get to them. But this is the reason he did this to the license plate light is because he could reach it. So he writes me a ticket for having a license plate light out. And we happen to be, this is El Paso, we happen to be right outside the Flying J, right beside where they pull you over to DOT inspect you. The next exit is the Flying J. So I pull up in the Flying J. And I fuel up, and I walk back there, and I'm going to pop this light out and put a new light in, because I got spares for everything. I pop the light out, and this dirty, thieving, disgusting, dishonest piece of crap has, and the reason I know this, because my entire back of the trailer was covered in dirt and dust, except for my license plate light. So I was already suspicious when I pulled the light out, because it was so clean. It was clean from being handled. He had popped my light out, unplugged it, and popped it back in. Because when I popped the light out, and seen it had been unplugged, and let me tell you, even the plug had no dust on it. And these plugs, they pop on, they snap on really hard. They do not vibrate off. And there's only one way that thing could have come off, and only one way all the dust could have been cleaned off that one light and that one plug, and that's because he pulled it out and unplugged it because his boss was making him find something wrong with my truck. There, that's 2 stories. And I got many more just like that. Disgusting, dishonest thugs with badges.